Okay, so we're going to look at our game against Politesc. This is an endurance game, so it's every format apart from tech, because tech's coming in the next endurance round, and obviously no command decks, no missions. So we're on turn one, but our opponent has acceptable losses for 2 scraps, and they've got smuggling, so they can grab a 4 cost, and they're probably going to be able to grab the blob bot if we don't. So our worst case scenario here is that they take blob bot and repair mech, and leave us at a heavy disadvantage and all that, and they could still scrap 2 Vipers if they had them, to leave them with a 10 card deck. So we don't love it, but we're going to pop our grey market and take blob bot. Politesc is then going to take absolutely the mech, and then he's going to play his 5, and he's going to take the base. Obviously, Confessor Morris there, no point in taking that. You can make an argument for a couple of other things, but I think Alliance Landing there is going to give you the trade that you need going into deck 2. So our second turn, we're going to take the blob to pair with our mech, our blob bot, and then we're just going to take an explorer, and we're going to hope to get the 2 scouts on top of our deck into one of our two econ cards to get Morris before Politesc gets it, because with his acceptable losses as well as a Morris, we're going to be so far behind, it's silly. We do, as it happens. He scraps his Vipers, as you should when you've got acceptable losses and you see them both in the first deck. He's then going to take Fighter Base to pair with his Alliance Landing, start the beginnings of a base wall. So we're only going to get 1 scrap out of Morris, but what we are going to get with that is an ally for our blob bot when we see it, and it also gives us a chance of making sure if we bottom it, that we kind of get a chance of seeing it in deck 2. So we're scrapping a little. We see blob bot for the next hand. Chris gets Alliance Landing, picks up a cutter, reveals Moonworm, and takes blob wheel, so that he's got a better chance of getting Moonworm ahead of us. So we're going to draw, we're going to scrap, absolutely, and we're going to scrap a scout from discard. We're going to get rid of his base, mainly. We're going to get 2 explorers here, because we really need to be chasing Moonworm if we can. So Alliance Landing comes down. He's going to pick up the mech. Well, there's an argument that Chris picks up Commodore Zhang here, to then double discard, just in case I've drawn into enough for Moonworm, but doesn't. And we have our gambit to get rid of his fighter base if we need it. That said, we take Zhang because it's going to give us a draw to try and squeeze out an extra piece of trade to try and get a Moonworm, and also it stops him from getting it, also makes him discard, so makes him less likely to get the bombs. We're going to scrap that Explorer, we don't want to see it again, and we're going to hit him down to 38. Now, what you can't see right now is that we know on the top of our deck we've got Explorer, blob bot. So all other things being equal, we are looking at a 7 cost next turn. Politesc puts down blob wheel, puts down 3 trade because the discard got rid of the other one, so we were in a spot of bother if we hadn't done that. Picks up another base, definitely building base walls, good time for him. We're going to draw, we're going to get that blob bot. We're then going to take Moonworm now. Moonworm we want here, we'd love machine base, but if we don't have damage, we're going to lose to a base wall hard and fast. So we absolutely have to take Moonworm here. It's also going to allow us to get a bit of utility if we draw it with our other blobs to try and pick up some explorers or something else good from the row. We'll get rid of his base because we don't want him blob wheeling into machine base or some other bomb. We scrap here for the damage, just to try and keep our deck slim, because we have these explorers sitting on the top. So Mech World comes down, Alliance Landing comes down, picks up another discard in the form of Cargo Craft, and picks up some damage, which is always great to see. Picks up a Cunning Captain for extra discard, and passes turn. So we've got another 7. So you could here have made the argument that Chris discards there to stop me potentially having a 7. He doesn't. We pick up machine base. We throw the damage away. It's gone by the wayside because we can't get rid of his bases. But we do see Moonworm in next hand. So Chris now puts down fighter base, gets all of the allies with his cutter, repair mechs away, a starter, picks up a Ravager, double discard, and then picks up a Frontier Hawk. So really starting to turn the screw, getting a lot of cycling going, getting a base wall, and it's beginning to look harder for us here. That said, Moonworm draws into another starter. We're going to pick up Swarmer now. I'm picking up Swarmer here because we really want to control the row, and we also want to make sure that we're getting as much damage as possible. Trade Wheel would be good. It's a great base, but it's not gonna help us get rid of his bases as and when we need to. So we're just going to waste this trade. We're going to get rid of a base. The Alliance landing there because it's the one that gives him damage. We can deal with a discard, maybe 2, but we want to try and minimize the damage we're taking because it's going to stack up. Fortress Oblivion comes into scrap, a blob wheel and some trade. There's nothing really on the row for Chris to take Gateship. Traditionally not a wonderful card, but we get a break here and he does reveal a Chancellor Hartmann, and he doesn't have the trade to use it with blob wheel. So we're going to discard a card. We're going to pick up a draw with a Moonworm, which gets us into machine base. We're then going to Moonworm into an Explorer to grab Chancellor Hartmann, which gives us a scrap and also allows us to use our blob bot. And War Elder appears on the row. Now, if we don't see Hartmann and War Elder here, we actually, even though we've got some good cards, we stand a really, really good chance of just straight out losing. This has allowed us to catch up on the scrap game. Chris has, had his acceptable losses. He's got his Fortress Oblivion use and he's getting another one in time. So we've begun to catch up there. In comes the yellows. It's clearing out the bases, takes flagship, reveals Sentinel, bit of damage but not too bad. So right now we've got 4 starters in hand and maybe 1 in the discard. So we're going to get rid of Embassy there because we do not want him cycling into his bases all the time, getting his blue and yellow allies. Must take that away. Again, here we leave Trade Wheel because we want Sentinel, we want the damage, and we can always pick up a Trade Wheel later if Politesc doesn't. We're going to leave the War Elder there because we needed the trade, and also it can just give us an extra ally when we see Blobbot again, which we do here now. So we're going into Imperial Defender, Repair Mechs to the top, cycles into his base, Oblivion again to get scrapping, and doubles up with Repair Mech. Cutter takes the Trade Wheel, has enough for Overlord, and deals damage. So 33-39, pretty close. We've got a good hand though. We can Moonworm in, we can Swarmer away the base because we don't want him having that at all. Blobbot, get the Explorer with Moonworm, scrap twice, use the Explorer to grab a security craft, scrap that Explorer out, and try and hit him big. I'm quite a fan of using Moonworm for Explorers as and when you have it, because one of the things it does is it allows you to not bloat your deck. And often that 2 trade is sometimes you just need that extra bump in trade to get something. Obviously, if there's something outrageously good on the row, you're going to take it. Our deck's quite small now, so we're lucky that we're seeing Moonworm on the top. If we see it on those bottom 3 cards, life becomes a bit more challenging. Chris plays his Cutter, plays his Alliance Landing, scraps out the row, doesn't want me getting bases. Cargo Craft again, packed pod, and we're going to be in a position soon if this game doesn't end where Chris is going to be able to stack up a real discard 4 or 5 and time walk us, and we're going to lose the game. So 26-15, it's not looking necessarily wonderful. We're going to Moonworm into Security Craft, we're going to scrap. We're going to get some damage out there. We can't quite get the kill here. Supply run the cargo pod on the top, scrap out the Explorer, scrap out the Viper, kill the Alliance Landing, hit him down to 7, and we're just hoping we can survive here. And so he tops, draws with the Imperial Defender, the Frontier Hawk, so he can continue cycling through into his best stuff, fighter base, and trade wheel here, and then cutter and trade hauler. He's drawn quite badly, and this allows us to close out the game here. And so, because it's endurance and you have to do all of the damage that you produce and also differential matters, we're going to do our best to work up as much of a differential here. We could just play our cards and kill him, but we discard the security craft, we draw the sentinel, we scrap out. Now we get a Quasar. Because we're in the driver's seat, we have enough damage that we can probably kill through an authority gain event. So there's no real downside into just fishing and popping events. So we're going to use our trade to grab that base. We're then going to play the machine base. We're going to get Alliance transport with the Moonworm, because when we machine base into the Ion Station, that's going to give us a differential of 8, whereas Sentinel only gives us a differential of 5. Plus, that's more healing from the Alliance transport. We scrap out the Sentinel, we play the Ion Station, we scrap out our cargo pod, and we hit him in the face for as much as we can. And 27 to -13, it was a good game. I felt like at the start, I felt like Politesc had a better start in terms of his gambits. But we got a bit lucky. We had the trade for Moonworm, we had the trade for Machine Base, and we got a Hartman and a War Elder when we really, really needed it. So that was a really tight game, but actually a really, really interesting and fun one to play through.